Leader.
A number of our colleagues have already spoken about the huge problems that we face and the President's complete failure to lead. We've got a $16 trillion debt, millions out of work, the biggest tax hike in history looming, and our military faces crippling across-the-board cuts. The nation and the world need strong American leadership and robust political institutions to meet these challenges. But the President, with a lot of help from the Democrat-controlled Senate, has deliberately chosen inaction. Why? Because over the past 2 years, the Democratic Senate has seen itself as an extension of the President's re-election campaign rather than a forum for solving the nation's problems. Everything it's done and hasn't done is meant to help the President, not the American people. So our problems have only gotten worse, and the Senate has, of course, completely broken down as an institution, as described by the senator from Mississippi. Democrats haven't passed a budget in more than 3 years, despite the fact that, as Senator Sessions pointed out, the law literally requires it. It doesn't say don't pass a budget if it's hard, don't pass a budget if you have to negotiate with the House, you don't have to cast a budget if you have to vote. It says pass a budget. We haven't passed a single appropriation bill. I'd say to my friend, the senior senator from Mississippi, apparently all these people on the Appropriations Committee are completely irrelevant. Senator Alexander pointed out they did their work, never going to bring up a single bill. By the way, it's not just the Appropriations Committee. All of you who are on committees, can you remember the last time you actually marked up a bill? Most committees are not marking up bills, not offering amendments in committee, so I guess the new rule is no amendments in committee and no amendments on the floor. There are a lot of senators around here of both parties who are wondering what their job is. I got elected by the people of my state. What is this job I got? I'm on committees that don't do anything. Nobody votes on amendments. All the legislation we have, if we have any, is written in the Majority Leader's office. And Senator Isaacson, I think it was, pointed out, or was Senator Enzi, that all we do is vote on bills that have fancy titles and a poison pill. And, of course, there's only one vote. Because, you know, if you get on the bill, there won't be any amendments. So there are a whole lot of members, I'd say, Mr. President, wondering why they're here. They fought hard for these jobs, defeated intelligent, well-funded opponents, got here all ready to go to work, and nothing happened. Not just 1 week, or a month, or 6 months, 2 years. 2 years. Senator McCain pointed out no defense authorization bill. We've managed to get around to doing that, no matter what our differences were, for a half a century. A half a century. This Democratic-controlled Senate gives do-nothing Congresses a bad name. It's a complete disgrace. Never before has a Senate and a President done less to address such great challenges that we have. I know I can speak for every single member of the Republican conference in the Senate. Regardless of our philosophical differences with our friends on the other side, we take our jobs seriously. We think the people who sent us here expected us to function. And we intend to do it. So if the American people decide they want to make a change, the commitment I make to them is the Republican conference is going to pass a budget. It may be hard. We may have to twist a few arms. There may be some people that don't want to do it. We may have to do it on a partisan basis if our friends on the other side don't want to join with us. But the law doesn't say don't do it if it's hard. It says do it. And the Appropriations Committee deals with the discretionary budget of the United States government. It ought to be allowed to do its job. Not everybody's going to vote for every bill, but we're going to function. We owe it to the American people to do, at the very least, the basic work of government. Of course, we got problems beyond the basic work of government. Certainly, we were going to have differences after the 2010 election, which could best be described as a national restraining order. The American people took a look at what this government did under this president's leadership for the first 2 years, and they said, we've had enough of that. And they flipped the House of Representatives and made us a more robust minority in the Senate. And they understood we weren't going to do any more of what we did the first 2 years. They were not interested in any more of that. But that's not an excuse for not doing anything. They said, we don't want to do any more of all this new stuff that was done in 9 and 10. The massive spending and debt and the takeover of health care and the nationalization of the student loan business. No, they don't want to do any more of that, but they didn't send us here to do nothing. They assumed that we'd at least do the things that we ought to be able to agree on, the basic work of government. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. For the sake of this institution and for the sake of our country, we need to straighten this place out. We need an attitude change. This is not about the rules. The rules will remain largely the same over the years. This is about us. And this problem can be fixed. All we have to do is decide to operate differently. No matter who is up or who is down, there are basic things this institution owes the American people, which is to get the basic work of government done. So the pledge we make to the American people, if they decide they want to try new leadership in the Senate, we will do these things even if they're hard. And beyond the basic things, let me say to our friends on the other side, we've got big problems that we're never going to be able to solve without some bipartisan commitment to do it. We're drowning in a sea of debt. We know we cannot save this country unless we make the entitlement programs fit the demographics of our country. We got a lot of other problems. We've got taxes, we've got sequester, but the way I tend to think of that is that's the chairs on the Titanic. You can rearrange the chairs, you figure out the tax problem, figure out the sequester problem, but the ship's still going down unless we make our entitlement programs meet and fit the demographics of our country. We probably won't be able to do that one party only. It's time for some statesmen to show up. You know, we've had an election every 2 years since 1788, right on schedule. At any point in American history, people could have said, oh, we can't do that. There's an election coming up. There's always an election coming up in America. That's what we do. The fact that we have an election coming up is not an excuse for not tackling the tough problems. So no matter what the American people decide this November, no matter what they decide, the problems are there. And our commitment to the American people is, if we're in the majority, we'll do the basic work of government, and our hand will be out to our colleagues on the other side, and whoever the President of the United States is, it is time to tackle the biggest problems in the country. the most predictable crisis in American history. Mr. President, I'll yield the floor.